We've started a new series called Fight for It. Fight for It. And the principle of Fight for It is really this idea that there are things within our Christian faith that we must fight for. And last week we had that conversation, didn't we? What are the things worth fighting for? We had things like justice and peace and all the kind of big words. And actually, we want to refine that down and actually think, well, what does it mean to fight for the fundamental foundations of being a Christian, of Christian living? And over the next kind of 6 weeks or so, we're looking at various different. Last week we started off with this idea of we need to fight for the uh, not the right, but fight for the fact that we can be together. And often, we can look at the world now, we can look at the church even, especially since COVID, and we can see how actually, maybe gathering isn't as important as it once was. Where once upon a time, traditionally, you definitely go to your Sunday service, you definitely go to your life group or whatever, or you go to whatever it is. We've kind of gone away from these kind of foundations, I guess. And I guess in some ways, for some Christians, we're not pointing fingers. For some Christians, like church and gathering together is the optional extra. Like if it fits into my diary, then I'll let it happen. And we kind of looked at that, and actually, we have to fight, hold on to, and that's what this picture is. We're holding on to these fundamental values that allow us to live out our Christian faith, and meeting together is absolutely one of the things. Today, we're going to be talking about worship and praise. And in the weeks to come, we're going to look at serving each other and prayer and Sabbath and growth. And today, like as I mentioned, I really want us to focus on worship. And this is the main reason why church exists. This is if we're going to take any value, it's going to be this one. This is if any value, if you're going to put them in an order of importance, worship and praise is the most important value of all. It's literally what we're made for. And worship and praise is really interesting because I remember hearing someone once say, we're all, even if you're not a Christian, we all worship something. And it's so true when we look at humanity. There's something within humans that need to worship. We need to elevate. We need to exalt. And for the Christian, we know what that meaning is for. We know what that value is for. But for the world, maybe we do it in different ways. And maybe sometimes this stuff impacts on us. I'm a big football fan. We know this. Okay? And I've got to be careful when I say I love football. I love football. That's a very dangerous, I really enjoy football. Maybe sometimes I do love football a bit too much. And even you can see football fans, can't you? And they're singing and exalting humans. They're telling them how you're the greatest. You're the best. And they're just, often when footballers score a goal, and it always sends a shiver down my spine, even as a football fan. Often they can go to the crowd and they do this. They've just scored a goal, they run and they do this. Have you ever seen that? Where it's like throwing it up, it's like, worship me. Look at me. I'm the man. And it's not just football, it's across all of our culture. We look at, we look at influencers. This is a perfect example. Social media has allowed influencers, and that's literally what they are. They're influencers. They're just people who might have certain values or certain opinions, or they might do something a bit differently, and they get these followers, literally followers, and they're exalted. And their followers they're all in. Like, don't say anything about their particular influencer or celebrity or whatever. And I know we know this. I know we know this. But I think often the distractions for us as Christians happen subtly. And we find ourselves in a position where we're maybe worshiping things we're not supposed to be doing. Maybe praising the things that we're not supposed to be praising. And on top of that, we then neglect to worship and praise the Lord. And that is huge. Like I said, this is what we're made for. And we've been looking at this passage in Acts. And I'll just read it again. We're going to read this every week. Okay? It's a really important picture of what the early church looked like. And this week I've just highlighted some of the things of worship that are within this passage. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone in need. And by the way, that in itself could be considered to be an act of worship. We'll come to that on another day, though. Every day, they continued to meet together in the temple courts. I highlight that line important because it wasn't just meeting. They were meeting in a specific place, which was the temple courts. It was a place of worship. So for the early church, they recognized that meeting together is important, but the heart of that meeting, worship has to be there. This is why we're meeting. They met together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and they ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. Now, we are going to have a bit of a debate right now. And I want to think about worship songs for a moment. And I want you to tell the person next to you or the people next to you, what is your favorite worship song? What's the worship song that gets you every time? And the one I'm banning is Amazing Grace. Okay? We accept Amazing Grace is probably the greatest worship song, well, in our ears anyway, that was ever written. Right, so we're banning that one. But other than Amazing Grace, what is your favorite worship song? You can chat to the person next to you. And what we're going to do, we're going to, as a group, decide and pick what is the greatest worship song of all time. Okay, right, are you ready? It could be hymns. It could be hymns if you want. It could be as old or as modern as you want. What is the song that gets you? Go. Have a think. Have a chat to your neighbor. What is the song that gets you every time? You already picked one. What's yours? That Boy Slim Praise You. Good song. It's actually a good song. Yeah, we don't actually. What? Can you pick one of your favorites? You must have. Come on, then. Okay. Let's get a bit of feedback now. Now, one of our worship leaders here, John. You obviously, you know your worship songs. What's the one song that gets you every time? Great are you, Lord. Ooh, great are you. I think we're doing that later. Yeah. Oh, listen to this, guys. Listen. He just mentioned a banger. A banger. When I survey the wondrous cross. Anyone know that song? Is that the one that goes, when I survey the wondrous cross? Yeah, beautiful song. Yeah. Huh? What, the other one of eyes, what I, yeah. What was the other one? How great thou art. Yes. Anyone love this song? How great thou art. Brilliant. Okay. Yeah, what's your song? Oceans. Oceans, great song. What's really interesting about Oceans is it's really popular amongst non-Christians. So Oceans is very popular amongst, is actually based, well, in the secular world, they love that song, which is really interesting. A great song. Yeah, any more? Yes, Joy, I know what Joy's favorite is. Hey, which is Rescuer. Well, we just did it. Hey. Yeah, brilliant. Yes, Mike. Yeah. For the Lord God Almighty reigns. Holy, holy are you, Lord God Almighty. Worthy is the Lamb. Worthy is the Lamb. You are holy. Beautiful. Beautiful. Any more courses? Throw them at me. What we got? Joy, you got another one? You're being greedy, Joy. You're being greedy. The what? Cornerstone. Christ alone, cornerstone. Brilliant song. Yeah. Anything else? Yes, Brad. Oh, that's an oldie. Yeah. These are the days of Elijah, declaring the word of the Lord. Yeah. What? One day at a time. Is that just advice for me, or is that a song? Right. Okay. So could you bang out a melody for us? Okay. Does anyone know this song, One Day at a Time? Can someone sing it to me? I don't know this song. Is that the one? Is that the one? Beautiful. Okay, great. Yeah, a couple more. Couple more. What we got? The what? 100 million. Yeah. The only thing with that song, if you ever, it's just I can never remember the lyrics because it's just so like, whoa, but great song. Anything else? What we got? Yes. Holy, holy, holy. Now there's many of those. Ah, okay. Diplomatic. So the holy, holy, holy songs. There's many of them. Very good. Yeah. Have you got one? 10,000 Reasons. Yeah. Matt Redman. Fantastic. Just a couple more. Mike. King of Kings. Majesty. Is that right? Da, 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 da. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Your name is like honey on my lips. Your spirit like water to my soul. Your word is a lamp unto my feet. Jesus, I love you. I love you. Ah, beautiful. Is anyone else getting a bit of a chill? Oh, yes. Yeah, Mike? Peace like a river. Peace like a river. Yes, Mike. Other Mike. Ah, in Christ alone, my hope is found. Yes. Any more? What? I will offer up my life. Now we're gonna. I think is that the one we're doing later? I will. Oh no, we're not. But I do that. I'll offer up my life in spirit and truth. In fact, can we just add that to the list? That would be a good one. Um, yeah. The one that goes through my head. Sue, go on, Sue. Grace like an avalanche. Yeah. What's that song called? It's called Avalanche. There we go. Well done, Sue. Good job. But all of us have these particular songs and choruses, I guess, that as we sing them, something within us just goes yes. Like this is my heart right now. This is where I'm at. One of the songs for me, which we're going to do later, is "I'm Coming Back to the Heart of Worship." It's all about you. It's all about you. And there's something about that particular song for me and my generation anyway, where it's like that was one of those songs that when I hadn't been walking in the right way, or I know I've been worshiping and praising the wrong things, or totally ignoring God, it's one of those songs that it just brings me back at that moment and that kind of, I'm making a declaration. I'm coming back to the heart of worship. I want to prioritize you. I want to make you number one in my life. And it's, absolutely, yeah. Another one that goes into my head is it's a really simple chorus. It just goes, "We exalt thee, we exalt thee, we exalt thee, oh Lord." So simple. One line. It's just for me that just listening to that melody and all that is just it's just wonderful. But of course, and the quote from Martin Luther, who says, "The gift of language combined with the gift of song was given to man that he should proclaim the word of God through music." It's a great quote and absolutely true. But of course, we know that worship is more than just the songs that we sing. Um, and that, in fact, in that, I'm coming back to the heart of worship. That's one of the key lines of the chorus. I'll bring you more than a song. For a song in itself is not what you require. Um, and it's true, isn't it? We know that praise and worship, although we can do it through song, there's something about song that brings us together. There's something about song which is biblical. We see it in the Psalms. We see it throughout the Bible, different places. People singing their praise and their worship to the Lord, and it's wonderful. But worship goes deeper than that. And here's a couple of quotes from some different people about what they think worship is, or yeah, it is. It is the pleasing of God that is at the heart of worship. Very like that's kind of, if you were going to strip it back to kind of the simplest way of putting that worship, I guess, isn't it? Like we're trying to please God with our hearts, our attitudes, our actions, our words, our deeds and gestures. The highest form of worship is the worship of unselfish Christian service. Now, Mike Keane Price isn't here today, but because it's a Billy Graham quote, he'd be whooping right now. He's not here, so we're going to have to whoop for him. Whoop, whoop. I can't believe you actually did that. Well done. Yeah, but it's actually worship can be serving other people. I don't want to talk about too much of that this week because we're going to be covering that next week. But service, our actions, our deeds, can be as important, if not more important, than the words that we sing and the gathering and singing music. So worship is more than that. Worship is the proper response to all moral, sentient beings to God, ascribing all honor and worth to their creator God, precisely because he is worthy, delightfully so. You know, that famous quote that we use, he is worthy to be praised. We sing it in songs, we see it in the Bible, he is worthy. And if all else fails, no matter where my life's at right now, God is God, and he remains worthy of my praise. That has been one of the foundational truths for my life, in times where I'm not feeling it. And sometimes, if I'm meeting with someone and they say, I'm not in a good place right now, or I'm not feeling it in worship or something, I will often just say, go through the actions. Just go through the actions, because actually you can choose. Like, if all else is rubbish and you feel like rubbish, if you have complaints, you can still bring them to God, by the way. But don't neglect to give God the praise he deserves, even if you're not feeling it. Do it anyway. And I think often when we do that, this kind of realization eventually brings us into a place of course he's worthy. If he's worthy, he's good. If he's good, he's not going to let me down. He's good, he's going to always be with me. He is worthy of my praise. A couple more. I need to worship because without it, I lose the sense of wonder and gratitude and plod on through life with blinders on. And that is so true. It's one of the reasons why we want to talk about this stuff at church at the moment. Because if we stop engaging in worship, we will find ourselves lost out there. Worship and praise is a wonderful focus point, bringing us back into what are we made for? Why am I here? It's where we find our purpose. It's so fundamental to our life. And that word gratitude, that's another big one as well. Remember at the start of the year, we introduced that song, Gratitude? And it's the simplest song because it basically says, I've got nothing else that I can give. Like, nothing I have is good enough. All I can give you is my gratitude. That's all I've got. That's all I can give right now. All I can do is be thankful for you, Lord, and for what you've done for me. And if it's not practical, like what God is doing for you in your life, strip that away. He died for you. You can be thankful for that. Lord, my life, again, it's crushing me at the moment. It's hard. I'm thankful that I'm saved by your grace. I'm thankful that you chose to love me. You choose to love me so much that you would suffer and die for me. If I could be thankful for nothing else, Lord, have that. I'm thankful. Important. And a good kind of final one, I think, is a good summary of worship. John MacArthur says, true worship is any and every expression of obedience, praise, honor, adoration, and gratitude offered to the true God by a regenerate soul who knows the truth about God and loves him. You know, I think worship, as we kind of said, it goes beyond the music, it goes beyond the words, and actually we can worship God in so many different areas of our life. We can surrender to him. That is worship. We can give. That is worship. We can give him adoration and praise. That is worship. We can obey him. Obey him. I mean, Like, obviously Jesus says, obey him, keep my commands. Keep my commands. It's like we have Paul has that wrestling, doesn't he, of like, I have the freedom, I'm saved, I have the freedom to do what I want effectively, but I'm not going to choose to do that. I'm still going to choose to do it God's way out of obedience and love for him. And maybe again in the world at the moment where it feels like everything is trying to pull us away and tempt us, and it's 24/7 like barrage, assault on your soul, you know, in those times, an act of worship can simply be, Lord, I know that isn't right, and I want to obey your commandments on this. I want to walk away from it. That is worship. No one else needs to know about it. No one else may ever hear about it. But God sees that as your worship to him because you're choosing him and his ways over the ways of the world. And that is, beautiful. But I want to just focus a little bit here now, and I want to go to the words of Jesus himself. And we have this wonderful, uh, one of our favorite stories in the Bible. We know it, the woman at the well. We talked about it a few weeks ago, didn't we? And how amazing is that Jesus revealed secrets about himself to a Samaritan woman. Like, it's incredible. Like, that just shows so much about who God's character is and how he wants to bring, he's so accepting and so welcoming. It's wonderful. But during that story, we get a really significant revelation from Jesus about worship. And you'll know the lines when I read it, but let's just read it anyway. So the woman said, I can see that you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but the Jews claim that the place where they must worship is in Jerusalem, the temple courts. Uh, Woman, Jesus replied, believe me, a time is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know, for salvation is from the Jews. Yet, a time is coming and had now come when true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. You know that line, don't you? True worshippers will worship in spirit and in truth. For they are the kind of worshippers the Father seeks. God is spirit, and his worshippers must worship in spirit and in truth. And it's an incredible revelation, because this is the point in the story of Jesus where the focus of worship changes a little bit. Where once there were rules and regulations, and there still are in many ways, there was a specific way to give your worship and show God your worship in the way that you lived your life and the way you presented sacrifices and where you were, and all those things were important. Jesus is saying here, a time is coming where actually the location won't matter anymore. Actually, people can worship anywhere. People can worship everywhere. That's a huge revelation, by the way, and something we should be thankful for in itself. Like, a good job we don't have to go to Jerusalem to worship on a Sunday, isn't it? That would be a bit more difficult. But we can worship. We can worship here. We can worship uh, at home. My literally one of my most powerful worship moments was singing some of these songs randomly in the shower one day, and it just, like, I felt the presence of God just come, and I literally just got on my knees in the shower. Obviously no one was there and watching. That would be weird, but like, I am literally totally exposed. I'm having this incredible encounter with God, and I'm just worshiping him in the shower. And it's just like, isn't that wonderful that I get to do that? We can worship him when we're in the car, roll that window down and sing those tunes out loud. I know Alex does it. I know he does. But we can worship that. It's wonderful. But there's this other line in there. True worshipers will worship in spirit and in truth. Spirit and in truth. What does that actually mean? And actually, there's been lots of wrestling about this over the years, about what it means to worship in the spirit. Because on one level, it's like we are spirit, God is spirit. So it's like saying your spirits will communicate to each other. That's one way of in spirit. But there's a more significant thing for me, I believe, and I stand by it. I think this is a reference to the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit. And we see it like at Pentecost, we get this kind of gift from God to help us, the Holy Spirit as our helper. And when we become a Christian, we ask God into our life, we are given this wonderful gift of the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit guides us in many aspects of our life. And it might be some of the things that we just mentioned, maybe something that's not right over here, and something in your spirit goes, this isn't right. Ever had that? When you're doing something wrong, and it's not because you've been taught that it's wrong, but you're doing something wrong, something in your spirit goes, this is wrong. This isn't what you're supposed to be doing. Hmm? You can feel it. Well, people feel it in different ways. For me, it's a quite physical sensation. For me, it's like almost like butterflies in my stomach. I get the hairs stand up on my arms sometimes. And for me, it's like it's a bit of a physical manifestation, I think, for me. Whether that's my spirit going, ooh, there's something, and I believe it's the Holy Spirit, this gift from God that helps guide us. That helps guide us and keep us on track and directs us. You know, when we came back to Tewkesbury, that was very much a sense of the Spirit calling us. It like God was directing us. And when Ali and I, as we kind of look back through our lives, we can see time and time again where the Spirit, not just circumstance, not just opportunities, but the Spirit has kind of navigated us. It's just guided us, pushed us in the right direction. Excuse me. Any chance someone could just grab me some water, please? Thanks, Alan. And, there will be a time that comes where true worshippers will worship in spirit, and then the other word, truth. That we have the truth of God and who God is. And that's difficult at the moment in this world, isn't it? Because, even, look how wide and diverse the church is. And then you might have branches that have come out of the church at some point, which are, many would argue, they're not really a true representation of Christianity, but that's where their root was. And even that is it's a really confusing thing to navigate. And again, we can ask God to guide us in that. Thank you, Alan. You could run, Alan. You know what I mean? Okay. Please don't. Thank you, mate. But the Holy Spirit, truth. That's what the truth, working out what truth is. I think the Holy Spirit can help us identify what truth is. But there's another meaning to truth here, and it's sincerity, being sincere in our worship. It means something. We're not just going through the motions. Like I said earlier, go through the motion. It's kind of countering that a little bit. It's not a place where God wants you to stay. Where we do it for time, but oh, oh man, another song. Do I have to? Oh, like lunch. What time do we put the dinner on today? Are we going to get back in time for dinner? We've all been there. I do it most of the time. I'm preaching, you know. But there's sometimes we can be in a place of worship where we get this wonderful opportunity, and we're not really. It's not truth. It's not sincere. We're singing the words, and we're not even thinking about them. We're not even thinking what they mean. We're just enjoying the tune, maybe. And I think God wants us to be sincere in our worship. That means choices. That means being uncomfortable sometimes. That means expressing ourselves in different ways. I love the fact that we are a church that if you want to express yourself in a certain way, you want to put your hands in the air, which we encourage people to do if they want to. I guess, again, it's the Holy Spirit thing. It's not saying, if you love the Lord, you'll put your hands in the air. But it's more like if your spirit or the Holy Spirit is saying, put your hands in the air, it's being able to do that, really, and not feel like I'm embarrassed or even like I had in the shower when all I want to do is, Lord, I want to get on my knees. I want to get on my face I get my face on my knees. This is where I need to be right now. It's what my spirit is saying. I need to fall on my face before you. That again, worship is also about reverence and respect. So it's like why we bow. If you look at the root words of worship, it's literally a bowing, to bow before. So it's like respect and reverence. I think often in church, or in the West definitely, it's like if God doesn't tick my box, I ain't doing it. If I feel remotely uncomfortable, I ain't doing it. Even if God tells me to do it, I fit God into my life. Actually, true worshippers worship in spirit. Like, okay, God, I'm going to go with what you're saying right now. If I want to praise you, I want to worship. I put hands in the air today. I want to stand here just with my arms open and receive you today, Lord. That's what your spirit's trying to do. Do it. I encourage you. Encourage you. But we need to be in a place where we can show God reverence and respect. And if that means getting on our knees, get on your knees. God is good, right? He deserves it. Couple more quotes, and then what we're going to do is one of the things that we do as an act of worship is communion. And again, it's kind of we call it like an act of remembrance, right? So it's like we're choosing to remember why we're here. We're choosing to remember what we're actually thankful for today from God. And so we're going to do that in a minute. But just a couple, and then we're going to have a time of worship. And it's going to be an open time of worship. So I said to the guys, they've got about 30 songs lined up. So I said, just have some songs ready, and we're just gonna give God space. We're just gonna worship Him. And if at some point you feel like, okay, that's me done for the day, that's fine. There's no judgment. Go and enjoy your cup of tea. Don't run away. We won't be long. If it needs to go on all afternoon and we worship the Lord, then we'll do it. We just want to put God where He rightfully belongs. We want to give Him the worship and praise that He deserves. I don't want us to be a church that keeps fitting our worship to God into a little box. And unfortunately, in the West, it's a matchbox, not even a big box. It's like, for this 10 minutes, I'm going to worship you this morning. Like, no, that's not what we're called to do. This is just another expression. Meeting together and worshiping together is just another expression of our love to God. Let's be reverent about it. Let's be thankful that we even get to do it. Let's be more open about what God is calling us to do and how He's calling us to live. Joy's already off. She's done with her worship today. Nothing teaches us about the preciousness of the Creator as much as when we learn the emptiness of everything else. I saw this quote and I had to put it on. Been times in my life where when all the good things fall apart, when life is really tough, when it feels empty, when I've lacked purpose, it's in those moments where I've gone, that's this is where I need God. This is why I need God. This is why God is the most important foundation I can ever put my faith in, because everything else fails. Everything else fails. You might have a beautiful husband or wife, or boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. They will fail you. You might have wonderful children. They will fail you. Mine, 17 times this morning. That's fine. They will fail you. Your job will fail you. Your friendships will fail you. Money, wealth, it will fail you. But God will never fail. And I'm so thankful that I've had times in my life where I felt empty, because it brought me to this amazing revelation of who God is. I treasure those moments now, which sounds a bit silly, doesn't it? But I really do. Like when I was growing up, I suffered a lot. And I'm thankful for it, because in that suffering and in that loneliness is where I really truly found who God is. Any man or woman on this earth who is bored and turned off by worship is not ready for heaven. Great quote. God is to be praised with the voice, and the heart should go, there, there with the holy exhortation. I should put a space there. A couple more. Oh, no, that same one? Yeah, same one. God is good. He deserves our praise and our worship. And I think as we kind of this series really as a church is for us to really ask about what our identity is as a church, not just as individuals. We're all on our own individual journey, but as a church, who are we going to be today? Who are we going to be moving forward? Who are we going to be in this community? What are we going to represent? And this is why we're highlighting these things, because we want to be a church that meets together. We want to be a church that prays, and we're going to talk about that. We want to be a church that serves, but we have to be a church that worships. 100%. Amen to that.